Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks for joining us for this week's episode of NITRO Talk here on Everything Nitro. I am your host, Andrew Morales, and for today's guest, he doesn't need an introduction, but we'll give him one anyway. We are joined by four-time Top Fuel world champion, driver of the Capco Contractors, Top Fuel Dragster, Steve Torrance. Howdy, Steve.
Hey, brother. How you doing, man?
Great, man. Like we were talking, first of all, thank you for joining us today. We know there must be plenty of work going on in the race shop and at Capco, so we're just lucky to have you.
Man, I appreciate it. Yeah, things are really busy here at Capco. We've been fortunate to stay busy throughout the off season, and typically this time of year is slow for the oil and gas industry with holidays and everything. But man, I'm telling you, things are moving along really quick up there in Indy at the race shop. I'm going to go up there tomorrow and check on stuff, and got the cars wrapped, and everything's really kind of wrapping up and getting together. And so getting ready to go to testing here pretty quick. We'll be out in Phoenix and not too long.
Just a couple weeks out, and a beautiful wrap, by the way. It kind of took me back to, what was it, 2016, 2017, that classic, original, classy look. And that's awesome.
Yeah.
Such an awesome car.
Yeah, every few years I kind of get to get a little more input. I let Bob handle it, my mom and my wife and my dad and everybody. And I'm more kind of the retro, old school, just pretty plain simple white car, and I like that look. I mean, you're right. The 2017 car was pretty similar to that. So that's one of my favorite cars. And I talked to Bob, and Bob said, "Man, I tell you this every year, but I think this is my favorite one this year."
That's for sure. So to dive in right into your Top Fuel career, well, first of all, you were a champion in the top alcohol dragster category in 2005. You made your debut in Norwalk, Ohio. You get the job done. You win your first national event. You end up winning the championship. So by then, you're thinking, hey, I want to go Top Fuel racing. So in 2006, you got the opportunity to license in Dexter Tuttle's Top Fuel dragster that J.R. Todd was having success in at the time. How did that all come about? What was it like stepping into a Top Fuel car for the first time?
Man, anybody that knows Evan Knoll and Torco and all that stuff knows that Evan called me in the middle of the night a couple days before and said, "Hey, let's go Top Fuel racing." And I went to St. Louis and drove JR's car Monday after the national event and got my license. Man, it was one of the coolest things I ever done. I had built the thing up to be an absolute monster, and stepping on the gas. And the first couple of laps, we only went to the 330. It shook the tires and smoked the tires, and I stepped off. And at that time, I thought, man, I've built it up to be way worse than it is. It's going to be okay. Well, then the next two runs were full pulls, and at that point, we ran a quarter mile. And so I think I went 477, 310 or 313 miles an hour. And just at the 330, when you start relaxing and thinking that everything's cool, that's when the thing starts trying to pull your head off and throw you out of the back of the car and really accelerating and really running. So it was a moment where you get out of the car at the end of the track and you're like, man, this is the coolest, funnest thing I've ever done. But what have I talked myself into? Because now I drove it. I didn't run over anything, but they're going to expect me to do it again. And that was terrifying. So it was a blast.
And you capped off that 2006 season running the final three national events with Dexter Tuttle. And a lot of people probably don't know this, but you were a teammate to J.R. Todd at the time. How happy were you to make your debut and have the opportunity to compete at the highest level?
You know, when I did get to debut, JR was carrying quite a bit of momentum with Dexter's car. They had won some races. They were doing well. And so it just added credibility. And then I got to be able to be part of that and race a few races with them. And I had already won a championship in alcohol. So most of the guys knew who I was. And that's just par for the course. I mean, if you're like, I know all the alcohol guys. I don't know all of them, but I know most of them. And we pay attention to what's going on in that class, because that's the next guys that are coming up, the next guys and girls that are going to be driving a fuel car for the most part. And so just being able to make that step up, and JR was super nice, super accommodating, and you know, helped me with anything that I could think of, and was a sounding board, and We've both gone on to have great careers from that point. So it's pretty unique and special just to say, hey, that guy got his start there. You know, he had drove for I think he drove for Litton, and I think he drove for a couple other guys. I'm not for sure, but that was really where he kind of got known. You know, and same for me. So it's pretty neat, and just to look back at where we were and where we are now, it's a really special deal.
And you ran all the way up until 2011 with Dexter Tuttle. 2010 actually being your first full season, making all 24 national events. And about halfway through the year, you decide to form Torrance Racing. You hire Richard Hogan, the guy we hear about today, a guy you give a lot of praise to today. How tough was that experience going midway through the season, starting your team, and not just starting it, but getting to run that family-owned car later on in that same season?
You know, we made the decision to start our own team, and we did it at Houston of 2011. And I had a friendship with Richard Hogan at that point already. Richard had been over on Dexter's car for a couple of races and helped us, and I'd expressed some interest in going and doing our own thing and talked to Richard about it. And I said, hey, if we're going to do this, we need to go do it together. And he guided us and knew all the people and everything, and we started putting it together then. And I mean, it's crazy, but that's 11 years ago, and we've really accomplished a lot in a short period of time. We only ran a couple races at the end of 11, and started that full campaign in 12 with our own team. And Richard has been there all but just a partial season in 13. So he's an integral part of everything we've done, and just a dear friend to me.
And to fast forward a little bit, well, actually, what was it like getting that first Top Fuel victory in Atlanta against Tony Schumacher, a guy you're pretty fond of?
Man, that's you know, there's certain things that stick out in your career that you remember, and it's your first win, your first championship, your first everything has different things. And I mean, and I've been so fortunate and blessed to have the success that we've had. Um, you know, you win Indy, you win a championship, you win all these things, but like days like winning your first national event, it's the final round, it's against Tony Schumacher, it's the first full year that we have our own team. And you go up there and you just beat him. And you know, I've looked up to Tony for a long time. I mean, that guy is the winningest Top Fuel driver ever. He's one of the greatest there's ever been, and you can't take that away from him. And so, to say I got my first win against Tony, you know, that's pretty stout. And then later in the year, we raced at Bristol, and we had a bet on for helmets, and that was
Wow.
so winner. We raced in the final round. I beat him. Winner got the other's helmet, and so I still have that helmet in my trophy case there from Tony. And so it's something that I'll always look back on. And man, I'm glad I didn't have to lose and give him my helmet, because that's one of my that was one of the first Maryland helmets that I had, and so that one's a pretty special one for me too.
This is a cool little fun fact. From the 2016 Winter Nationals to current day, you've won 45 national events. Like, I don't think anybody has won that many national events, given the circumstances. Hey, we've had a shortened COVID season. We just finished a 20 race season. This past season, only 20 national events. You have collected a lot of Wallies in a short amount of time with some of the greatest people in all of drag racing. How does that make you feel to hear about that success? I mean, you hear about it all the time. Heck, there's Steve Torrance Way in Kilgore, Texas, if I'm right. So that doesn't come easy. So just how does that feel
check
today?
this check this out. This is my office at Capco, and there is every single trophy that we have won
Wow.
as a race team. Down there on the floor is I've run out of room, so every single Wally that I've won in Top Fuel is in my office. back here is the Traxxas shootout trophy from 17. We won the shootout and the race that weekend. My career is what dreams are made out of, and if I never won another race today, I can say that I'm one of the winningest top fuel drivers in history, and it's nothing that I did on my own. I mean, it's complete 100% team effort. I've had the same team collectively since 2013. And so these guys are the reason for our success. And then just the great support of Capco Contractors and Redline and Mac Tools and everybody that's stuck with us. I mean, Redline stepped up with us this year. Mac Tools has been with us since the beginning. So has Redline and Capco. I mean, we've kept a pretty small group of people that we've aligned ourselves with that have stayed with us throughout. And so the success that we've had is because of the team and the people and the guys out here digging ditches and putting pipe in the ground and working 6 and 7 days a week to keep us out here. That's what the success is from. And, we partnered with Toyota this year. And right. So a lot, everybody's got an opinion and something good or bad to say. And man, these keyboard warriors, they're so tough, but you align yourself with people. We've been fortunate enough to align ourselves with people that we think are good people, and we do it for reasons other than money. I mean, we're very blessed to be able to run this thing out of our pocket. So the people that we've chose to partner with are people that we think we could represent well, and they can represent us well. And so I look forward to this relationship with Toyota. I think that it'll be a feather in our cap as well as us in theirs, right. And a great opportunity to go out and do some good and try to win some more races. I mean, at the end of the day, that's what we're there to do. We're there to stack up Wallies. I mean, I don't feel any different on my first Wally as I did the 51st. So when that feeling goes away, I need to do something else. And so we race to win, and that's what motivates and drives us.
And you talk about Redline Oil and how much these sponsors have helped you throughout the career. We're excited to see that Toyota partnership. I think they really hit the money with this one. I think they're going to be very pleased with what Torrance Racing has to offer. But going into this upcoming season, the top competition every year, we say it gets tougher and tougher. You look at the funny car category last year, and it was outstanding. And it's looking to be even better this year. Now, this year in Top Fuel, we have Antron Brown and Justin Ashley teaming up. Leah Pruitt coming out with her Tony Stewart racing car. A lot of people, I don't think, are given enough credit right now to Doug Coletta and Sean Langdon. Those are a couple of guys that had a bad season last year, but given who we're going to see them teamed up with this year, that's another tough couple of drivers that you're going to have to deal with. Let alone Brittany Forrest, Clay Milliken, and, of course, Billy, your dad, one of the toughest racers out there. You cannot forget about him. So top to bottom, Top Fuel looks tough this year.
It does. And I mean, the one thing you got to remember, we're all competing against each other, but at the end of the day, we're competing with ourselves. And it's me against whoever's in the other lane, whether it's Brittany or Antron or Doug or Sean or Billy or whoever. But ultimately, I'm competing against myself. No differently than I got some buddies that are NFR rodeo guys, PBR bull riders. Everybody's competing against themselves, and those guys are riding that bull, and they're competing against the next guy, and that guy's got to ride his bull, just like we've got to run our racetrack and do our job. And if I can go up there and it be the absolute best that I can be on the tree and count on Richard Hogan, Bobby Lagana, and all the rest of the Capco boys to give me that car, what it does is it takes the pressure off of us and puts the pressure on the guys racing us or the girls racing us, because consistency and just being not the quickest on the tree, but maybe up at the top and consistent, and then your car running as quick or quicker than most, even if you're not setting records, you're going down the racetrack every time quick, it forces those other teams into making mistakes. And I think
Right.
that's one thing that has been advantageous to us is just the consistency of the race car. And I mean, I'm not the quickest guy on the tree, but I'm definitely top of the pack in the middle. I might be the fifth or sixth guy in there. I don't know where I'm at, but
we've seen Steve Torrance cut a couple lights, especially when needed in those final rounds.
Yeah, and that's something that you gain with experience. Is just I used to question why Schumacher was slow in round one and just stellar in the semis and the finals, and it's not anything he's trying to do. It's just the nature of the beast, and that's how you become. So you bring it when you need to, and I think that's just something that you develop as a driver, and it's going to be a tough season for sure, which every season is tough. I mean, everybody has the same opportunity to go out and really get it done. I hate this point system because it rewards the people that didn't get it done, but we'll just, we got to go do our job and try to get as much information, as much points, and as far ahead as possible. Give you a little bit of time to figure out what you're going to do for the back half of the season.
Now, to backtrack a little bit, going back to 2016, you picked up the win at the Winter Nationals and the Summer Nationals in Englishtown before suffering a heart attack and a massive blood clot just days before the Norwalk race. 4 months later, you're back in the winner's circle raising the Wally in Las Vegas. How emotional was that, to go from the highs of highs to the lows and just be able to bounce back from that? I don't think there's enough fans in the stands that really know Steve Torrance and your background in racing and just all you've overcome in life. So to think about Vegas 2016, how special was that for you to be able to bounce back from that hardship and just be able to do the job?
One thing that you just said is people don't know Steve Torrance. I'm a fighter in all aspects. I've trained in martial arts, various forms of martial arts. My pretty much 2/3 of my life. I had cancer when I was 17. I had a heart attack at 33. A couple years later, I had another issue with my heart. I've been through various kinds of fights in my life where you just gotta. I mean, there's nobody there but you and your family, and you got to roll with it. And I mean, I'm strong in my faith, and I'm strong in my mind, and I have a great support team. And sometimes, I don't know, how are you going to be 10 foot tall and bulletproof if you don't believe it yourself?
Right.
How are you gonna walk through the fire and come out the backside if you don't think you can do it? And so sometimes you got to psych yourself up, and sometimes that goes too far, but you got to get there's you got to have a warrior mindset. And I approach everything I do with that same warrior mindset, whether it's work and bidding jobs and wanting to win, whether it's racing and wanting to win, whether it's whatever it is, hunting, fishing, whatever. I don't want to just be a participant. I want to be the best. And I think that's just, I don't know if that's something that's instilled in you or it's just in you, or if it's just, I don't think it's a learned thing. I think it's just something of who you are. Um, I told somebody, they asked me, I had a photographer and an interviewer doing an interview with me, and they said, here's two pictures. This is Steve Torrance in the race car, getting in the race car, being like here in the moment to race. And here's Steve Torrance hanging out with his friends. And they're two totally different people. It's the same guy, but it's two totally different people. And you can see it in the photos. And I said, there's consequences throughout life for everything, and the consequences of competition now are you win or you lose. The consequences of competition in the gladiator days was life or death. And to me, that's the way that I approach it. And just with that intensity and that focus and that drive. And so, I approach. I've went all off on this question you asked me, but as far as what I've went through in life, and the trials and tribulations that I've been able to go through and overcome, it molds you into that person. And it's that victory at Vegas meant so much. But not any more than any of the rest of them, because we did it as a team. And I think that
Right.
those are just things that I personally have to overcome. But I've got such a large support group and people that stand behind me. I tell people all the time, I'm like the little hood ornament on a car. I'm the guy that drives the car and gets out at the end and gets to talk. But I got the 400 people at Capco behind me, and all the people at all our great partners behind me. I've got my wife and my little girl and my mom and dad standing directly behind me, and they're all pushing me to the front. And so, when you see the whole backstory and all of that, it definitely kind of brings into perspective the emotions and everything that it takes to get there and how you feel when you do well.
Right. And you mentioned that, earlier you mentioned those keyboard warriors. One of my favorite quotes from Tyler Carpenter, a late model dirt track racer. He said, "Go ahead, beat the buds, baby."
Yeah.
I thought that was hilarious. But we witnessed the heartbreak at the end of the 2017 season, losing that championship. But we had no idea what was in store for 2018. Not only did you go 11-0 in final rounds, you become the first driver to sweep the 6-race countdown. I mean, I don't think anybody could have predicted that.
No, and we couldn't have either, and we're just so thankful that we were able to get it done. But I will tell you that that year right there was so just so focused and so driven that nothing mattered. Nothing but winning mattered to prove to everybody what we were. We were definitely a force to be reckoned with. In our minds, we were robbed of that championship, and we did not want to have any doubt that we were the better team. And at that time, I failed my team as doing my driving job on the last day of that season, and we could have had a different outcome. And I did not want to do that again. And because of that, that 2017 season, all of us are better. We wrecked the car in Dallas. It really knocked the wheels out of our or the wind out of our sails to complete that championship drive. And we all learned so much in that day, that round. And we're so much further ahead and better prepared, parts wise, piece wise, than we were at that time. And then just mentally, the ability to focus and stay in our lane and know what our job is and what we're there to do, and not be distracted by any of the other stuff. That's what separates champions from people that don't just quite make it. And it's not one person on the team that can do that. It has to be a champion mindset from every individual, because one guy on that team making a mistake, one wrong tuning call by the crew chief, a flinch, or just taking a little bit too long to step on the gas on the tree, and you're not a champ. So it takes that focus and that mindset from everybody. And so 2017, we had a playlist and we called it the Year of the Reckoning. And so we rolled through and we charged, and then it's like, man, so much weight just gets taken off your back when you get there. And then the hardest thing to do is the first, whatever it is. when you're a kid trying to jump your bicycle over a block or a ramp or whatever. The first time's the hardest. Right. And it's the same way to get that round win, to get that race win, to get that championship. And there's nothing that can prepare you for that other than doing it.
And one more question before I let you go. We kind of touched on how special it is to have your family around, you know, standing behind you, having these group of guys, your wife around, your daughter now. What's it like having your dad in the other lane? I mean, that's your father. He's been with you through everything in life, and he's been your biggest support system. And he gets that first national event win in Brainerd of 2018. I mean, talk about the emotions of that, racing against your dad and seeing him hoist that Wally.
You know, my dad's my best friend. My dad's 25 years older than me. Unfortunately, I'm going to be an older dad, but I'll probably be a better dad because of it, just because I'm more mature. But he and I, in somewhat, grew up together. I mean, I raced motocross with my dad when I was a kid, and I remember my dad being able to go out and do it with me, and then I started racing super comp cars and everything with him, and so. That we've done that. My whole life I've done this sport with my dad, and so we started this team. And I told him, I said, "Man, I need some help, and I need you." And so we put the other car together, and it was the closest thing at that time I'd ever experienced to being a parent, because now I'm the guy that's showing someone how to do what I do. And then it's someone that you dearly, dearly love, and you put them in a top fuel car and you think it's the most terrible idea ever. And I do it all the time. And I'm like, Dad, this is not a good idea. I mean, something could happen to you. And he goes, son, you're doing the same thing. I said, I know, but I'm not worried about me. I'm worried about you. But just to teach him and show him how to drive the thing exactly how I've learned. I mean, and to see the success that he's had. I mean, I think other than us, my dad is the second, over the last 4 years, my dad has won the second most amount of races other than us, than over anybody. I think him and Leah were tied. So he's done a good job. He's done well, and he's went out, and anybody that says they can drive a top fuel car and that has never done it does not have a clue. I mean, I can walk you through it, and it's simple. It sounds super easy, but these things are moving so quickly. I mean, they're moving at the end of the run, they're close to 400 feet per second. That's over a football field in less than a second. And your mind doesn't think that fast unless you've been doing it and you've got acclimated to it. And I mean, it's so easy to make a mistake, and there's pressure that you put on yourself to go out and do well because you want to win, and you don't want to be up there in front of 60,000 people and look like a fool and make a mistake. But you're sitting in a car strapped in with 7 seatbelts in front of 11,000 horsepower. It's shaking, it's vibrating, the fuel stinks like crazy. You got to keep your visor down. You got to remember what to do and then stay calm. It's like it's the little bitty ballet dancer in the middle of the war, you know. And so you just, it's difficult, and I'm so proud of how well he's done and how good he's driven the car. And a lot of people don't realize, I mean, my dad hadn't driven a top fuel car ever before me. And then he's came out and done really well, and he doesn't drive all the time. He runs a limited schedule most of the time and doesn't go full time. And he may race this weekend and not race for another month and then show up and kick butt. And you're like, man, the old man's doing good.
Yeah, if there's a Torrance in the other lane, it doesn't matter which one it is. It's going to be a tough battle. It's never going to be given.
It is. And I mean, I'll tell you, when I go up there and that sucker pulls up beside me, it's probably my toughest competition. And I put the most pressure on myself is because Sunday night when we leave and we come home and Monday morning we're back at work, I got to look at him across the hall in here at work. And all these Capco boys are going to give me some crap and say, how come you let the old man beat you? So.
Well, thank you so much, Steve. I appreciate you taking time out of your day. We know Capco doesn't run itself. It takes a strong boss, strong personnel to keep that business going and to allow you guys to be successful on the track. I look forward to seeing you guys in Phoenix, Pomona, as many races And I'm sure there's going to be plenty more Winner Circle celebrations. So thank you, Steve, so much for taking your time with us today.
Thank you, brother. I appreciate the time. You have a good day.